Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan TV. Very quick update for you today. Rushing around today. Some of you guys know my son hurt his hand yesterday playing basketball of all things, and spent most of the day at the hospital today because it looks like he'd broken a bone in his hand, and yeah, I had to go into Manchester. But very good service, I'll say that about the NHS in Manchester. I was seen very quickly by a nurse and a doctor. He's had 3 x-rays, and he's got his hand sorted out. He'll go back next week to take the plasters and stuff off his hand, so fingers crossed he'll be buzzing again next week. And poor guy, he said he can't even play football. I said he's only hurt his hand, but he said they're worried about any contact sports, and that's it, no football for the poor kid. And then my other kid is off to do Thai boxing, so I've got to take him in about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm going to buzz through some brief topics for you. I'm going to start off a little bit with Pep's press conference today. And in his press conference today, he mentioned that City have been apparently looking for cover for Ben Mendy. Because obviously Mendy's in he's been here 18 months, and he's probably been injured for about 15 of those months. I mean, last season he was injured after I think 6 games, and he only came back in the last month of the season. And this season, again, I think he had an operation in November, and I think he's back in training now. He's had 3 or 4 sessions this week. Obviously, he's not going to be up to speed. He's not going to be considered for this weekend. I'm not sure exactly when he'll be ready to be integrated into the team. It may be that the Burton game, I suggest that's going to be too soon. You know, it's not far off, but maybe. But I expect maybe in the FA Cup he might come back against Burnley. Who knows? I mean, you know, it could take 2 or 3 more weeks before he's up to speed. He's done enough training sessions, and his knee stands up to scrutiny. But City have been looking for a cover, partly because Ben Mendy's injury record, and we've struggled this season, I think, by not having him. We got by last season very well mostly with Zinchenko and Fabian Delph, who were brilliant for us most of the season. But we need a proper left back. We do know that teams are targeting us when we haven't got a proper left back there. And also there were issues, Sam Lee said from goal last year to us, and obviously in his own on their own website and publications and whatever, that there have been issues or concerns about his attitude and his commitment, and so much so that City have considered the possibility of having to get somebody else. And so for those 2 reasons, City apparently have been looking at the left back position. I think they say as cover, but I hope it's as competition for Ben Mendy for when he's fit. We want good proper competition, so he has to stay on top of his game. But it looks like that the left back position or the cover will be sometime in the summer. You know, I think reading between the lines a couple of weeks ago, it was like Pep wanted somebody for January, but Cheeky is saying no, and so Pep will just have to hold fire, and hopefully we'll get someone in the summer. Also, Pep apparently has said that City have been looking for cover or a replacement, because that's what it's going to be in, let's say, a year's time, for Fernandinho. Now, Fernandinho has been absolutely fantastic for us this season. Excuse me, and we've seen it no more so than when he's not played. We get beat, you know, or we struggle, or it's much more difficult. I don't, you know, at Palace, he wasn't there, and against Leicester City. So, you know, losing Fernandinho, or, you know, is it a big problem for us? And we haven't got adequate cover. We tried John Stones there; it's not really worked. We tried, I mean, Ilkay Gundogan can do a decent job there, but he's no Fernandinho. So City have been looking at 3 or 4 alternatives for the defensive midfield position. Some of the names, I mean, obviously, we expect Frankie de Jong to be named. We expect Ruben Neves from Wolverhampton, and Tanguy Ndombele. There's probably maybe somebody else that they're potentially looking at as well. So we have no idea, you know, who we're going to get. Are we going to get somebody? But I really think we're going to really bust a gut to get covered this summer, most definitely. And it's going to be, in my opinion, one of those high-profile players, because Fernandinho may not have that much time left. He's 34 years old already, and unfortunately, if we'd got somebody this summer, he could have taken some of the pressure, some of the workload off Fernandinho, and then gradually become more integrated next season, potentially to be taken over in 2 seasons' time. Now, what looks like we're going to have to do is get someone who's more advanced, someone who's a little bit, maybe I won't say older, but who's been playing the position for a little bit longer. So, or is young enough, but so fantastic that we believe he can come straight into the team and pretty much cover almost immediately. But I expect us to get someone in the summer, someone big, probably one of those targets that we've been looking at, and then for next season, for that person to interchange with Fernandinho, and then possibly Fernandinho to leave the season after. That's my feeling. So I think Pep has already confirmed what everybody suspected. We're looking for a left back. We're looking for a defensive midfield player. Pep has also said, he made mention of the Checker Trade and Trophy game against Sunderland and the Burton Carabao Cup game. And if you're not aware, our EDS team are under 21s. They're in the Checker Trade Trophy. I think it's the quarter-final against Sunderland. That's a big game against a big team in League One, and it's up at the I think the Stadium of Light. So should be a decent crowd in there. Now, that game is on a Tuesday night. The Burton Carabao Cup semi-final is on a Wednesday night. And I think if they'd been in different weeks, it probably would have had more kids playing in the Carabao Cup game because, hey, we've got a 9-0 lead. We should be home and host. But Pep seems to, I think he said that some of the kids will play against Burton. And I think that's only natural. You want some of the kids. I mean, I would have played loads of the kids. You know, it's not the kind of game I play 7 or 8 kids and 2 or 3 fringe players because I think that's, I wouldn't say disrespectful to the competition, but I think that's wrong because that's too many kids. What I would prefer is to have a mix, maybe a couple of first teamers, 3, 4, 5 fringe players, and 3 or 4 kids. Let's say 4 kids, 4 fringe players, 3 first teamers, gets you to 11, and a mixed bench. We're going to get through the Carabao Cup anyway, and I think it's, in terms of difficulty, I mean, Burton on League One side as well. But I think for some of the kids, the prestige, the kudos that are playing in a League Cup semi-final. I mean, that's a big, big stage. So I think, we'll see some of the kids against Burton, and it'll be interesting to see which of the kids actually play against Burton. Other news, it's rumoured that Mikel Arteta is being linked to the Huddersfield job. Now, personally, I think that's just paper talk and bookies talk. Because it seems to have come from betting websites and betting companies that the odds have been slashed from Mikel Arteta to Huddersfield. Now, personally, I don't believe that one bit. I mean, Huddersfield look like they're going down. Arteta, if you remember in the summer, it looked like he was going to Arsenal. And that's if you're going from the calibre of club like Arsenal, now you've been offered, you're looking at Huddersfield, who are probably going to go down. So Arteta will be working in the Championship. I'm not sure he wants that. I'm not sure that's a level he wants to, start off in his management career. Fighting against relegation and then probably being relegated and then fighting in the Championship with probably a lot of players you don't actually know. So, I mean, I don't really believe that. And as I said, I just think that's a load of nonsense, bookies and paper talk, and just to get punters to part with their money and to make it easy coin for the bookies. What else have we got? We got news that Zaba is potentially going to get an extension to his contract at West Ham. He's 34 years old now. Apparently, he needs to do, I think, another 11 games. I'm not sure if that's just 11 league games to trigger an extension to his contract. The feeling is now with Zaba at the moment that he wants, reading between the lines again, that he wants that extra year. He said if he's, I think if he feels good enough, he'll take an extra year. And from the West Ham fans, and they're saying he's playing really well, he works really hard, and everything else. So he's doing really well for West Ham. So I expect him to take that extra year at West Ham. I mean, there's talk that they've been coming back to City in some capacity because when he left, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak said he's most welcome to come back to the club anytime in some capacity. Now, it might be for all we know, that he goes off to Melbourne City or New York City and plays for them, because they're part of the City Football Group, that are group of football clubs around the world. And it could be that he does a swan song in Australia or in America for a year or two. That's possible. Or he comes back in maybe a coaching capacity. Who knows? But I think Pablo Zabaleta he's a blue. He's a true blue, and he's a legend. And City fans want him back in some capacity, and I think they'll welcome him back in with open arms. And I think whatever happens, he'll always have a connection with the club. Other news, some transfer news. Now, there's a kid over in Brazil at a club called Grêmio, a Brazilian club called Grêmio, and the kid's name is Everton Soares. Everton Soares. Now, he's a 22-year-old kid. And apparently, I mean, this is, I think it was ESPN in Brazil, said last week City offered 55 million quid for this kid, Everton Soares. He's played 22 games and he's got 10 goals. He's a striker. And who knows? I mean, yes, I can see from on one hand, we do need something for when, I mean, Sergio Aguero is not going to be here forever. And maybe in a couple of years' time, that's 2.5 seasons. That's the end of Sergio Aguero at Man City. Gabriel Jesus, he has been struggling, but of late he scored a load of goals. A couple of goals against Wolves, 4 goals against Burton. That was it. He's got over 10 goals, about 12 or 14 goals in total this season. So he started to bang them in, and hopefully his confidence is coming back, and he's stronger and stronger, and he feels better each day. He's had his family around. I think they've gone back now. But there always is that, I think at the back of the mind, because he had this, let's call it, maybe it's very harsh to call it a slump, but this fallow period, let's say, when he didn't look that convincing and confident. And it's only natural City will look at the players now. 55 million quid for a 22-year-old. I mean, this guy has to be the business, because that's a lot of money to spend on a 22-year-old kid. You can't take a punt. You've got to be pretty much convinced that he's the real deal and he's going to make it all the way to the top. So that's just an interesting one. This Everton Soares, 22-year-old kid from Grêmio in Brazil. And finally, I'm just going to mention, I mean, it's something that was nearly 10 years ago, 2009. Apparently, City were given permission to talk to John Terry by Chelsea, his club at the time. I think Gary Cook has been talking again, and he said City were given permission to talk to John Terry, and apparently City offered him a contract worth £200,000 a week. And obviously Terry was, he must have been interested, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't have talked to City, and he's obviously interested in the money. And maybe he used it as a bit of bargaining to get to Chelsea to pay him more, and he eventually signed a new 5-year contract with Chelsea and stayed there. But it's interesting. I mean, City always had their eyes set on some of the top players, and obviously they failed big with Kaka, they failed big with Terry, and I'm sure lots of other fingers in lots of pies. They've always been interested in Messi and other top players. But it's just, it probably just confirms that we knew, we were trying to get him that summer. Well, there you go, Blues. That's my update for today. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, great if you can click subscribe. Love to have you on board for the rest of the season and beyond. We mean to stay here, stick around for a long time. If you like the video, nice to click like. Everybody likes to be liked. And see you around, Blues.